Yeah, it's that Peugeot running in third place in the hands of Anthony Davidson. Now, this is going to be fascinating as they come up and through the curves, underneath the Dunlop Bridge and down and beyond. It'll give us a real sense of whether Alan has got the pace underneath him on this vehicle to actually get back at the #1 Peugeot, which seems to have survived the contact rather remarkably well.
Yeah, he may not even, of course, there is the possibility, initially, he may not even realise he'd touched the Corvette. Very difficult to call that, Stuart.
It is. I honestly don't think anything will happen. You could say if Christard Neugaard just touched Jean de Portage, exclude him from the race. But again, it is awfully difficult, especially when you're in a GT car being held up by as we see, McNish is not dropping off the back of Davidson now.
Anthony trying to break the toe there, you saw, just did a quick wiggle across.
I don't think that's gonna phase Alan at all. He's had the bit between his teeth from the get-go, and
but you're absolutely right though. He is sticking right with him. That car is not pulling away.
Straight line though, it's a different story, isn't it? Yeah. Look at this. Suddenly the gap just starts to pull away. You can't see it on the foreshortening here with the camera, but it's probably 6 or 7 car lengths. That'll compress right now here. But Alan McNish is on a mission. 39 car incidentally has rejoined after extricating itself from the gravel bed. But this is where our focus remains now. And when these cars get up to full chat again, they're going to be in the solidly in the early 320s here, and possibly, I think, at some point into the teens. Davidson may well have been asked to back off ever so slightly after his incident. He may have to. We're still not sure just how much remodification the car has taken. It appears absolutely none. Pace undiminished, but we can't get confirmation on that until we get the proper full-on lap times.
Yeah, he has had a pit stop and they checked the car over. They saw putting that tank tape on the car, so Peugeot obviously quite happy with it.
Yeah, just seeing a 76 Matlock machine in its Narek's hands at the moment, and as the ill fortune starts to befall those ahead, you never know, it may even be podium positions on offer.
Something we can see here is we can see why that Peugeot's 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap quicker on average than that Audi. It's just absolutely, shot off in a straight line. I mean, Alan, you see through the corners of the circuit, the Audi doesn't lose anything, but in a straight line, that Peugeot just disappears.
And Stuart, when we had some translation of onboards, no translation required, of course, for Alan McNish, but the Germans translated it because they had some kind of in on the radio signal, and he was just saying Peugeots everywhere. I'm just being passed by the Peugeot. This was a man speaking in urgent terms at the beginning of this race. In fact, during qualification and indeed also during the free practice, they couldn't believe the pace of the Peugeots, and it's being transmitted right here, right now. Alan McNish is a very, very quick driver, possibly one of the quickest that there is in the world at the moment. And look at the performance gap here.
It's unbelievable. You really don't get quicker than Alan McNish, especially in a race situation around Le Mans with 6 hours to go, and that Peugeot just disappeared, and it has disappeared in a straight line. You saw with the onboard footage on the first part of last lap, Alan McNish did not lose anything to the Peugeot, and the minute you got onto the Mulsanne, away Anthony went, and Nishi was just sat there with the Peugeot disappearing into the distance with nothing you can do about it.
Right, that's our lead car. He's got a 2-lap advantage on the Peugeot of Anthony Davidson. Faster in the second Audi, the 8 car has a 1-lap advantage, but I suspect they're going to be coming together fairly shortly. We're on board here with our leader in the 9 car. It's Romain Dumas. We are unfortunately going to have to take ourselves a commercial break. It always seems heart-rending, especially when you've had so much action, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Don't forget that website. Mark Cole will be having another dip in. It's a pleasure to hear from you, particularly from the Pacific Basin. It's always a pleasure to hear from so far afield, and just know that we're entertaining you globally here with 6 hours and 15 minutes of racing left live here at Le Mans. Yes, there's our class leader in GT2. Mark Lieb has indeed taken that over for the 77 car. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome back to Eurosport here at Le Mans 24 Hours, looking at the GT1 class leader, and who would have forecast this? The Labra Celine. Celine, one of the dinosaurs of GT racing. Its last shout here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, but leading handsomely at the moment. Julien Canal on board that car, and there's a name to conjure with as well. But that car currently on lap 247, next best GT1, 238 laps. The Corvette of Julien Juice, and behind him Christophe Nygaard in the Aston Martin Young Drivers car on 237 laps. So a very, very handsome lead for this car at the moment, Stuart. We didn't really expect to see that Celine, did we, up here at the top of the GT1 pile?
No, it's the Celine, the old dog, still going round, hasn't had a problem, and it's now got a very, very healthy lead. That car, all it needs to do is just go around at an easy pace now, don't put any stress on the car, and without any problems, that car's going to win comfortably. As we see Danny Watts now, that really, really impressive Straka Racing Acura now has a big lead in LMP2.
It's 2 laps now.
2 laps,
yes,
yeah.
Over Highcroft. Highcroft had problems around midnight. David Bradman's in the pits for lost about a lap there. In 3rd place, and here's another good one, Oak Racing, Jean Charouz, the man who led the Aston Martin squads to the Le Mans Series Championship last year. Jean Charouz stepping down into the LMP2 class, Oak Racing Pescarolo, and that car is heading for another podium finish.
Well, really nice to see both Pescarolo chassis still out there running. Henri, of course, not here this year. His first time in, I believe, about 40 years that he's not been a part of this race, either as a driver or as an entrant. And I think it's just fantastic to see 2 of the Pescarolos still there. One certainly in podium contention at the moment. And it would be lovely to have a Pescarolo on the podium in honour of Henri not being here.
So Danny Watts there in the Silverstone-based Straka Racing HPD, the car formerly known as the Acura, well, was in the States. A lot of input from Honda. We had Darren Davis from Verf Research here on Thursday night during our coverage, telling us how this car was never ever in a wind tunnel, all designed on computers, CFD, and then using driver simulators. So interesting philosophy there. Incredibly
impressive, and who'd have thought that 10 years ago? But that car going very, very well. You've got to be going some to turn up at Le Mans and beat the likes of Highcroft coming out of America with their reputation. And Danny Watts, Johnny Kane, and Nick Leventis have so far been fairly faultless, apart from a couple of minor niggles. And that's coming to fruition now. They're inside the top 10 overall, and just knocking off the laps now.
And that car, the Highcroft car, of course, having 2 outright wins in the ALMS series over in America, which has now combined its LMP classes. But this car is still technically an LMP2 car, and for it to have been winning outright against cars that are ranked as LMP1 really shows what a fantastic combination it is.
Nick Lapierre then just seeing the pit stop there for the number 4 Oreca Peugeot, identical trim to the factory cars, and Nick doing a great job there. Just handed the car over to Loic Duval, Loic from the Japanese Super GT Championship, having his annual bash at Le Mans. That car 5th overall, doing some good times, been running constantly in the 325s all through the night, and of course, it does mean there are still 2 Peugeots in the race against the 3 factory Audis. Haven't mentioned the other Audis, have we, Liz? The Collis cars. Christian Albers at the moment 7th overall in the number 15 R10. And the other car, just looking for that.
It has retired, actually. The other car with Rodriguez in the car has retired. Yes. So there's still one going around, though, and it's still running up there in the top 10, as you say, along with the others. And which car are we seeing now? This is our lead Audi, I believe.
That's Romain Dumas, yes.
Yes, but still on the lead, but not much behind is Fassler and Davidson. Yeah, only a lap off, really, or under a lap off, in fact, is Marcel Fassler. And Anthony Davidson still putting in times that are some 4 seconds a lap quicker than Fassler and 6 seconds a lap quicker than Romain Dumas. We've still got a long way to go in this race, as we've been saying over and over again. I think there still might be some hope there for Peugeot. Yeah,
we've got just coming up to the 6 hours to go mark in about 9 minutes, but that's still 6 hours. I mean, that is still what, we're talking about 4 Grand Prix.
That's a 1,000-kilometer race right there. That's what many of the races are in the Le Mans series. Still to go in our race.
So never give up at Le Mans, that's the motto. And here's the racing car still being worked on underneath. These guys have been up for so many hours now. They had to work all night on Friday as well to get everything ready. So probably approaching 48 hours without sleep.
Yeah, and I do worry that it may all be in vain, because I do think that car has perhaps not completed enough laps to be counted at this stage.
So Danny Watts there just refreshing himself, presumably with the team's relentless energy drink there, throws it out. Of course, relentless part of the Straka empire. Straka is Greek Cypriot virgin olive oil, apparently the best olive oil you can get, and that's the family fortune built on the Leventis family. Harry Leventis' father, who's got a fantastic collection of classic Ferraris up at Weston near Silverstone. Son Nick Leventis, who's in his own right is a very, very good historic racer, as you know well, Liz.
He is, yeah. He was at Monza last week, where I was, I believe, where I unfortunately was not able to get my little 1960 Alfa Romeo to avoid breaking apart. But you know, that's racing, as they say, especially in old cars.
Yes, and of course Harry, someone off there, but Harry also owns the 1959 Le Mans winning Aston Martin DBR1, and Nick drives that a lot. Used to show it with Peter Hardman before Peter parted company with the team, but Nick's had some success in that car this year, hasn't he?
He has, yeah, and I'm sure I will see him at the Silverstone Classic, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll all be there hopefully. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend there. Silverstone promises it's going to be bigger and better than ever before. So we are riding at the moment with the, is this Marcel Fassler?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, his helmet, yes, that's right. In the second place car, as Liz pointed out, 1 lap down on leader Raymond Dumas. Anthony Davidson, another lap down, and still no news from officialdom that any sort of penalty is going to be applied. So I think probably they are turning a French blind eye to that. Alan McNish in 4th, Loic Duval in the Oreca Peugeot in 5th, and in 6th place Sam Hancock in the best of the petrol cars, the Lola Aston Martin, the team for which you drove last year, Stuart.
I know, it's fantastic to see Sam in the car. He's at the moment doing a very, very good job, just in the 3-minute 30 range, and 18 hours into this race, that is a good pace. And with the troubles that the 007 is now encountering, we haven't yet seen that emerge from the garage. The 009 is taking the reins for the Pro Drive team, Aston Martin Pro Drive team.
So just looking down, LMP2 order, Danny Watts, who we just saw making a routine pit stop, now up to 9th overall. How good is that for LMP2 against the huge competitively LMP1 classes here? I mean, and that I'm sure is going to be even higher before the end of the race if they have no problems with the Straka car.
Well, I think that just shows the reliability that this car has been displaying throughout this race. And you know, to be top 10 in LMP2 a few years ago, nobody would have believed that was possible. I mean, only about sort of 6 years ago or so, LMP2, you were lucky to finish. If you were in LMP2, you were lucky to finish near, you know, anywhere beyond about the bottom 4, because the cars just would not last. And I think we're seeing now how much this class has come on in Le Mans racing, and we're seeing basically virtually all of our LMP2s are on the first page, bar about 4 of them. So it is an impressive class.
Yeah, and as we see, Peugeot boss is looking on. Romain Dumas coming in for a pit stop, out again. Just fuel, no tyres, so again another double or even triple stint for him.
He will be feeling the pressure at this stage. No doubt Audi has been informing him what sort of times Anthony Davidson's doing. Marcel Fassler as well has been doing a quicker lap time overall than Romain has. Makes me wonder if they're needing to look after that car a little bit, because Romain Dumas is no slow pedaler himself. He can definitely fight with the best of them. So I'm wondering if there's maybe just the tiniest little thing that needs looking after there. Who knows?
There could be. I mean, we've seen how quick Romain is, especially in the Penske Porsches, and he's even driven the Pescarolo here a number of times. He's got his chance to win this race outright with the Audi. Maybe he's not at 100%. They've got that 1 lap lead over. It's not. I don't think he's not 1 lap. It's not even a lap now. So no, they can't really, they can't afford to back off because Fassler's coming.
Could be as simple as he hasn't got the perfect set of tyres. Of course, that's the other thing. Michelin obviously produce all cars tyres to the same spec, but there's always a very, very slight variation. But it's just for 1 second, going back to what you were talking about, Honda performance development, these cars, it is very, very significant, isn't it, that in LMP2, the top 4 cars, 3 of them are Hondas in first, second and fourth. Andy Wallace, by the way, is at the wheel at the moment of the RML Lola Coupe, and that car has the Honda engine in the back, and Andy Wallace, wonderful to see him back here again. 1988 Le Mans winner, of course, for Jaguar, Silk Cut Jaguar. All the Ferrari going way off the road there to make room for the Eureka car. Is he going to get a warning for that, or will they accept that after what happened at the Porsche curves, that was the best thing to do?
Yeah, no, I think when it's an issue in traffic, then usually they will look past that. It's mainly when you're looking at cars that are pushing hard and deciding perhaps they'll just save themselves a bit of space by jumping a few chicanes. That's when you see the warnings.
And the fact it was Jean Alesi as well probably would
yeah, maybe Jean Alesi getting a little carried away.
Yeah.
You know?
Jean at the moment, of course, in second place now in that 95 car, the AF Course car, which is a fantastic return to Le Mans for Jean. He drove here in the Group C era once, but this is the first time in 20 years he's been here to be running second in the most competitive GT2 field we've had in a decade. I mean, that is just such a good performance.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, we've seen the F1 drivers really shine in the GT2 class. Mika Salo has been driving and winning in the various different Ferraris for some time in the ALMS and also here at Le Mans. So certainly we've seen all sorts of different F1 drivers throughout, Stuart.
I know, and what is very interesting, I've been thinking about this. When I left the commentary box, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 hours ago, we had the cars that were, you know, on pace, the quickest of them all. You know, you had the Peugeot leading the P1 class. You had the, I think it was the Corvette the Ford GT leading the GT1 class, and you had the Corvette leading the GT2 class. Now, 5, 6 hours on, you know, reliability is starting to come into it. There's starting to be a few scrapes on track, and it's the old hands that are coming to the top. You've got Audi 1-2 in the P1 class. You've got a Celine leading the GT1 class with the Corvette second, and you've got a Porsche leading the GT2 class. So they may not have the outright pace, but you know, those guys know how to win 24-hour races, and we're seeing this right now.
That's a brilliant point, actually, Stuart. You've hit the nail on the head with that, I think. And what we're also seeing is what sports car racing is. And we'll be right back.
And sorry about that. We're just waiting for our 24 minutes program, which will give you highlights of the race evening so far. And that looks like a remarkably chipper-looking Corvette back on course. And what a delight to see it as well. Currently 5th in class, by the way. I think we're moving around. Just try and find it. Warm welcome back. Great news is that we have Ollie Gavin in the 64 Corvette is back and racing after a substantial amount of work on the back end. You're live on Eurosport 2, I understand, so thanks for your company. Sorry about the confusion just before the break. Didn't quite know where we were going in terms of which channel we were going to be appearing on, but we are well and truly with you now. Alan McNish staying in the car. He's got a huge duty on his shoulders. It'll be a weight to bear, that's for sure, but he may not have the broadest of shoulders, but he is more than capable of taking that responsibility.
We've got more news on the incident between the Anthony Davidson Peugeot and Manu Collard's Corvette. Apparently, Doug Fian's been telling Radio Le Mans that the Peugeot did not respect Collard's line, didn't leave him anywhere to go, and he hopes some action be taken. He told them at the same time they could get the car repaired within 5 minutes, and as we've seen, it is now back on track, which is an absolutely amazing performance
A phenomenal bit of work by Corvette to get that machine back, and to be honest, they've been absolute gentlemen. There was no kind of fluster from them, fluster or bluster. They didn't stalk down the pit lane and let Peugeot know what they thought about it. I think if it had come the other way round, Jeremy Short, that would have been perhaps a different story emotionally.
Yes, from what we good morning everybody, by the way. It's nice to be back here in the commentary booth. I've just been wandering around the garage area for the last I don't know, hour and a half or so, and every time I sort of left one garage having found out something else would happen somewhere else. It was absolutely manic down there these last couple of hours, and it's continuing right there now. There is one of the Pro Speed cars off the road into the gravel. Not quite sure where that is, but gosh, it's been manic. You know, I was actually down in the Corvette garage when that incident happened out on track, and I'd just spoken to Antonio Garcia, who of course went out about an hour before, and about an hour and a half before that, I suppose. He said there's absolutely no warning to that engine failure. It just blew on the run down to Indianapolis. So you know, massive disappointment there, but you know, the other car at that stage was running beautifully and out in the lead of the class and running you know, no problems whatsoever. And then of course Manu has that incident out with the Peugeot, and you're right, there was no histrionics down there so far as the other teams are concerned, unlike Dr. Ulrich.
I know that.
Yesterday, who ran down to BMW camp fairly sharply after the contact out on the racetrack, which really wasn't, it was just one of those things, as was this effectively. I mean, the Peugeot was absolutely flying. I didn't actually see that the incident on the cameras at all, but you know, it's just one of the things that's going to happen around this little place, and Stuart Hall will address that in a moment. But it was sort of organised chaos down there in the Corvette pit when they brought the car in. I mean, there were people running back and forth. There had to be about 20 people, probably mechanics. You know, they knew exactly where everything was back in the area behind the garage, and there was a lot of people flying around. I mean, I was keeping well out of the way, but it was they were working extremely hard, extremely well organised. That's the whole thing here. It was panic, but it was organised panic. Well, it's fascinating to see those sort of guys working under that sort of pressure, you know, this long into the race when they've been up for such a long time.
They've been massive supporters of Le Mans and racing in general. 50 years they're celebrating of action and proving that you know, they have learnt an awful lot of tricks, particularly about how to keep a racetrack alive and in a race. It was one of the biggest turnarounds for the damage level that we saw at the back end there. Some big guys using all of their weight to actually just try and remodify the back end. It's come out looking like new, which is a real credit to them. They're currently 5th in class.
Yeah, quite remarkable, and yeah, the car was running absolutely beautifully before, and I think they changed some things on the front end as well while they were at it. But Stuart, you know, you've been in that sort of position, you know, in one or the other, in the prototype or the GT car, when the prototype is pushing that hard, like Anthony Davidson was. It was Davidson at the wheel, wasn't it?
Yeah, Davidson.
I mean, he was turning some stunning laps there. I didn't see the incident on camera. Did you?
I saw the incident, and we have touched on this. We've spoken about it before. It is part and parcel of sports car racing. When you've got cars running around that are 45 seconds a lap quicker than other cars, inevitably there are going to be times when they touch each other, and we've seen that then. No action probably will be taken, and we'll just get on with it. It happens all the time. And you know, I said before, you know, probably 40-50 times in this race you've probably had quicker cars touch slower cars, but it's only when there's an accident that it gets noticed. It's been noticed, and you know, let's get on with it. You know, it's part and parcel of racing. The Corvette boys are back out. It's a shame for them, but there's still 6 hours to go.
Signature Plus car is making its way through traffic right now. Everyone's been kind of promoted as the attrition rate goes up. The 007 car is in the garage, and it means that 08 and 09 are in a happier position, although they won't be overly smiling about it and mentioning it too much to their colleagues. But you do take that step forward, and if you wanted the biggest step so far, maybe it's been baby steps throughout the night, is Mark Lieb in that Porsche. Suddenly the 77 car finds itself at the top of GT2 in a position that they couldn't have even dreamed about earlier on today, because the Corvettes seem to be running so well, and all of a sudden the roof's coming on.
Yeah, but you know, as we've seen so often here, anything can happen, and the Porsche was never out of contention by any means. I mean, yes, it was going to take a problem of some sort for the Corvette, but you know, over 24 hours you're going to have some sort of a problem, almost certainly. Just to lose one lap, 3 or 4 minutes worth of time, that's really just an extended brake change or something like that, and he's going to bring you back into contention.
And Jeremy, that's exactly what Peugeot are looking for now. And Davidson at the moment has just posted a 3:21.021, and he has been in stunning form. Yep. Alan McNish has been behind him and just watched him go away. And Alan McNish is not a slow driver, as we have said, by any means. And would even he doesn't even use the word slow ever for anything.
Yeah, and he's pushing hard because he knows that he's got an outside shot at least of getting up to the top position. So he's been pushing hard. And when Davidson came out of the pits, McNish was right behind him, wasn't he? And as you say, just motored away. You talked briefly there about 007 Aston Martin. They're still down there working on that car. It's a gearbox problem, obviously, and I presume that information was filtered up. But the car had been running beautifully, hadn't it? All the Astons actually have been running particularly well. There was a couple of slow stints perhaps from the amateur driver Juan Barazzi at one stage early this morning, and a few others. Really nothing major at all. The cars were running absolutely like clockwork, and all of a sudden Harold Premat had a problem with the gearbox.
Have they come back in here for some refettling of the 64 car, Stuart?
Yeah, it looks to me that they are looking at the rear end of the car as well. So that is the end that got stuffed into the wall about a half an hour ago. So maybe they haven't fixed the lot. And just going back to the Aston Martins, though, the Aston Martin team, they're ready to pounce. I mean, it's very difficult to beat the diesels at the moment with the regulations the way they are, but we can see now you've got the 009 car in 6th place and you've got the 008 car in 8th place, and the only cars in front of them are diesels. God help the diesels when the rules get more equal, because Aston Martin are going to build a hell of a car. And look at that. It shows you 18 hours into the race, there's no let up, especially from Loic Duval using all the road and more, and that's puncture territory, that is. So be interested to see if he gets away with that, because there's an awful lot of dust kicked up when he passed all that traffic.
There were 3 or 4 cars abreast there at the moment. Liz Aldo stepped in for Carlton Kirby for a while, and Liz, that was pretty fraud at this stage in the race. You don't normally expect 4 cars who try to go for the same piece of road, most of them on different laps.
No, exactly. And we saw earlier, the Peugeot taking a really big risk down sort of a lane on the Mulsanne that wasn't even available really, and he got a bit of a warning for that. And we're seeing all sorts of moves like this late on in the race when there's so much debris on the side of the circuit. It's not really the smartest thing to do, is it, Stuart?
No, it's not, but these guys are pushing. They're pushing really, really hard. The top 5, any one of those guys could win this race. It just needs a small problem for any one of them, and it's curtains. So they've been told to keep pushing really, really hard, and they certainly are for what we're seeing. But as you say, Liz, it could not be the cleverest of decisions, because if you're going to go offline, there's going to be plenty of debris 18 hours into the race, which can result in a puncture. If you get a puncture sort of 30 seconds into your lap, you're going to have to spend the next 5 minutes driving around with perhaps a wheel starting to delaminate, which starts to damage bodywork, which starts to knock hoses and things off the engine, and then you're going to be in the pits for a long time for a repair job.
Well, that's a good point. This pickup is a major problem. We've seen big balls of rubber being sort of caught up in the wheel wells of some of the cars as well. And I was just talking to Andy Wallace down there, and we talked about it overnight. The RML cars basically been running absolutely beautifully. Really, the only problem they've had is towards the end of a long stint, and they've been generally triple stinting the tyres and the drivers. And towards the end of the triple stint, they get a lot of they pick up a vibration with the car. And it turns out it's rubber buildup on the inside of the wheel, which is relatively unusual. Well, it certainly isn't unusual. You do get little bits of rubber in there, but it's causing a major imbalance, and that makes driving very, very difficult.
It does, and I've actually had that happen in a car before, and it is a really weird sensation. You start to think that maybe you've even got a puncture or something like that, because it does sort of shake and vibrate the car. But it is a hardship on this track. You can see there as the Peugeot is going by, you can actually see all the rubber pickup on the side of the circuit, and the more we get on in this race, the more of that excess rubber will be on the outside of the track. And one of the things that will happen is you run through that and you pick it up on your tires, and that could actually sometimes make you lose the car. I mean, it can throw the car so off balance that you could lose the rear and have an accident. So that's another risk that could be going on there.
And that vibration that you get when effectively the wheel goes out of balance, that Andy was like Andy was saying, you get pick up on the outside. You know, the edges of the tyres tend to pick up the loose rubber if you have to run offline, and also when that rubber gets just sort of small space of it gets stuck to the inside of the wheel as it's revolving, it causes a major imbalance, and that can shake off all sorts of things on the car too, Stuart.
It can certainly make the car vibrate unnecessarily, and then things can work loose. But also, if you're in a car that's not a closed cockpit, these big balls of rubber hitting you in the face, it's quite startling. You're driving along the Mulsanne behind a Peugeot, and suddenly a big ball of rubber comes out and hits you in the head. You know, you certainly feel it.
That's a very good point. That's not so nice when it happens, and amongst other things, bits of louver and all sorts come flying out on this Stuart.
It's not nice at all, is it? So we've got just less than 6 hours to go now in this race. So we're a long way in. We're 3/4 of the way into the race, but 3/4 of the way into the race, I mean, still 6 hours to go. That's as long as a race as we generally will get in the Le Mans Series. And so let's have a rundown of the order. I don't know whether we've done that lately. Have we done that lately, a rundown of the order?
Not for a little while.
Yeah, right. It's still not car number 9. We just saw Romain Dumas made a pit stop about 20 minutes ago. He has completed now 299 laps. Marcel Faisler in car number 8 in the second of the Audis. He made a pit stop just 2 or 3 minutes ago. So he is on schedule there, just less than 1 lap down. He's just actually left the pits. He's just completing his out lap now in car number 8. Anthony Davidson, he's still just 1 lap down, I think, isn't he? It's almost 2, but not quite. So just over a lap now for Anthony Davidson. That car still is absolutely flying. Last time around for Anthony Davidson, a 3 minutes 22.5 in car number 1. The best place now of the Peugeots. There's only 2 of the 4 still running. Alan McNish, a further lap back down in 4th place, completed 296 laps. And the gap between the 2 Audis at the front of the field as Faisler comes across the line to complete that out lap after the pit stop is just 1 minute and 27 seconds. So less than a minute and a half between those 2 Peugeots. Farther down the field, let's have a quick rundown. Loic Duval still runs there for the Oreca Peugeot in 5th place. And then the best of the Lola Aston Martins, 009, Sam Hancock, doing a sterling job at the wheel of that car, as he has done all week, in 6th place. Christian Albers in the best of the Colas Audis. And again, that's a pretty respectable run there in car number 15, the R10 TDI, the 6-year-old car now, isn't it? But he is running for the Colas team. That car's again run pretty much like clockwork. Second of the Lola Aston Martins, run by the Signature Plus team, car 008, Pierre Rag at the wheel in 8th place, followed by Didier Andre in the Oreca AIM engined car in 9th, and then in 10th place, the first of the LMP2 cars, as it has been virtually throughout the race, the Stracker Racing HPD of Danny Watts, who's fairly recently taken over, I think, from Johnny Kane. Those 2 have done by far the lion's share of the work in that car, and they still hold about a 2 and a bit lap lead over the similar car of Highcroft Racing, Marino Franchitti driving there. Quick look at GT1. It's still the Celine, the Labra competition. Celine, car number 50, that's run absolutely like clock, where they had a few minor delays early on, but they've just taken advantage of this attrition, and they've now got a handy lead in GT1. GT2, it's Richard Leitz, who leads in car number 77 for Porsche after all those Corvette problems over the last hour and a half. Leads by, I think it's just less than a lap over Jean Lalacy. Still running well in the AF Corsa, car number 95, the Ferrari. Car number 7, as we see coming through Arnage there, is running now in 4th place in GT2. We saw Richard Westbrook had a puncture. That was about an hour ago as well. That car has been running well. They put a fresh engine in for the race, and they didn't find out till the race that it was really down on power, they've trimmed out the aerodynamics on the car just to find straight line speed. Richard Westbrook says handling absolutely beautifully, and the only delays they've had apart from that was a couple of punctures. So despite all that, they're still very much in contention. And all of the cars, Liz Halday, there's something to play for. There's apart from GT1 perhaps, there's still hope for the contenders here.
Well, we've seen a real change about, and even just in the last couple hours, we've seen everything turn around in all 3 classes except for GT1, like you've said. So there's really, there's a lot going on here. After so many hours in this race, there's not a huge gap between all the front runners. So I think that's really going to show what we're going to have in the future.
Indeed. So there's the sole remaining BMW coming down the Mulsanne one more time. He's still running in 6th place in the class, so we've still got about 5 3/4 hours to go in this race. We're glad you're here with us on Eurosport, and we'll be back in just a couple of moments. Welcome back to Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw with you and Stuart Hall alongside. Liz Halliday is finally taking a little bit of a break. She's going to take a snack. She's well earned after being on the go here for the last 3 hours or so. And well, nothing's changed since you've been away, which is actually fairly unusual at this stage. Over the last couple of hours, Stuart Hall, everything seems to have happened, and now finally a little bit of peace and quiet.
It certainly has, Jeremy. It's been a really topsy-turvy race. Everyone said in LMP1, Peugeot are the favourites. They're going to run away with it. Where are they now? They're 3rd. Audi 1-2. In LMP2, we've got the two Acuras 1 and 2. They always were the quickest, and the only thing we thought that might hamper them is the fact that they've never done a full 24-hour race before. Well, they're proving us wrong now. In GT1, we've got the Celine. That certainly wasn't the quickest car in class. The Ford GT was. And now, where is the Ford GT? I don't think they're both out, actually. I haven't seen one for a while, but no, the Celine's leading by a long way. That only has to keep it together now, and that will win the class. And in GT2, the old stalwarts, the Porsche with Richard Leach, Ferrari with Alesi, Ferrari with Simonsen, Porsche with Marco Holzer, and the quicker Corvettes are no longer there, and the Risi Competizione Ferrari's no longer there. So you know, as we're seeing, the stalwarts of the classes, the guys that know how to win 24-hour races, are indeed at the front.
Yes, they are indeed, aren't there? And there is a Celine in for a scheduled pit stop once again. The car has completed now 255 laps. It's a couple of laps behind Richard Leitz in the Felbermayr car, and they are... The Celine has been... It's interesting, the Celine story, isn't it? Because these cars have been around for a long time now. They've never really achieved the ultimate success. They've been knocking on the door. The cars have always been fast. They look great, as they always have done. And it came into this race kind of as a dark horse, but also it was favoured by some, but not by others. The driver's lineup wasn't particularly considered to be strong, but they've done a good, steady job.
They really have, and they've capitalised on the reliability woes of the other guys. The Celine has always been a very quick car, and in the past it has had its reliability problems, especially here at Le Mans. But maybe 2010 is the year that it could come all good.
Yeah, and that would be great to see. I mean, that car is a beautiful car. The original concept for that car from Steve Celine's organisation down in Southern California. The car was developed and built initially at Ray Mallett's company in Wellingborough in England, and very much a transatlantic cooperation there to get that beautiful car on the road. I think it's just absolutely stunning, and it's great to see that Library car running so well. Here's a scheduled stop again now for Sam Hancock. Brought that number 009 car into the pits. It's running in 6th place, absolutely running like clockwork. It's so good to see these Astons. I mean, they sound sensational. Every time they go past, a big smile comes across my face, and the fan is a real fan favourite as well.
It is. They sound beautiful, they look beautiful, and the team is working really well right now. And you know, there is a few problems with the 007 car, so the 009 car is flying the flag. Sam Hancock's just done a great stint aboard that car, and is now handing over to Juan Barazzi. So we'll see how he gets on.
Yeah, there's a stage about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think, when Barazzi took over the wheel from Sam Hancock, and for 2 laps on the screen, on the timing scoring screen, it said car 009 slow on track. It was going incredibly slowly. He was just being so careful, Barazzi. He's not a professional like these other guys, and he was taking it easy, but he was taking it so easy. The middle sector was something like, instead of being sort of 85 seconds or so, it's about 180 seconds. It was incredibly slow, but you know, you don't win the race if you make mistakes. So as long as you can keep the car on the road, yes, it might have cost him at least a couple of minutes on an outlap, but hey, at the end of the day, who cares? Yeah,
indeed. You know, that car is leading the unofficial petrol class and is 6th overall. So whatever the problem or whatever issues Juan Barazzi had, whether he he was just, you know, maybe even learning the circuit in the dark a bit more. I really don't know, but you know, that car is there. That car is the quickest petrol car, and it's going well. But as we see, the 007 car has now been repaired. That has just gone out the pits with Stefan Mucker aboard, so expect to see some fireworks.
Yeah, that's right. The car now has been stationary in the pit lane for quite a lot, well over an hour, certainly. There was gearbox problems on that car. They've been feverishly working away in the garage trying to get it back out again. They have done so now. It's now completed 271 laps, so it's 21 laps behind the 009 car. Probably cost about 25. Yes, but it's been in the pits for about an hour, so you know, they've got no hope, of course, of making up that time. They've got to hope for the other guys to have some problems. So the car's now down in 14th place overall. I guess what they're aiming for now, Liz Halliday, good to see you back here, is to get back into the top 10.
Yeah, I think they'll be hoping to still finish the race. They've certainly done enough laps to hold on to that for some time. So I think they'll keep working away until they think the car absolutely won't finish. But I know that Aston Martin would love to get all three of its cars to the finish, certainly. It also looks like that we've not seen the shutters go down on the Lola Judd number 11. That is the Drayson car. However, I do think that they have perhaps exceeded the minimum amount of hours they need to do, basically. I've probably not said that very clearly, but essentially we spoke about this earlier, saying that they needed to do within 75% of the overall race distance done by 9 a.m. and I don't think they've achieved that. They have been in the garage for a very, very long time. I'm hoping we can maybe get a hold of somebody and see if that is an official retirement, but the shutter certainly hasn't come down yet.
No, it hasn't. I was down in that pit for quite a while, actually, about 45 minutes ago. Had a long chat with Emanuele Pirro, and the car at that stage was in the garage, and yeah, they've had a litany of problems, all sorts of things, and at one stage, I guess it would have been a couple of hours or so ago, maybe a little bit more than that, Johnny Cocker was sleeping in the hut back behind the paddock area, and Paul Drayson had just gone out in the car. They'd had a little bit of a fuel leak, and Paul did one lap, came in and said, I can't drive it, just the fumes, I'm overcome by the fumes. They actually took him off to the medical centre. He's fine, but some of the crew guys ran back to the hut, literally got Johnny Cocker out, you know, right. He was in a deep sleep, as you would be. If you can get to sleep at all, you're going to be in a deep sleep, which he was. He literally ran to the garage, got in the car, and out he went. And he went off on the first lap at Indianapolis. And you know, that's, I'm sure you, I don't know whether you guys have been in that situation. You've been literally woken up and got in the car, but it's not something you want to do.
Well, all I can say is fair play for Johnny Cocker being in a deep sleep at Le Mans. I never have been. He must be very...
So.
That's what I say. If you can get into sleep at all, it's going to be a deep
good man if he's managed that.
He's obviously very relaxed and taking it in stride.
I think rest is more what you can get at Le Mans, but deep sleeping doesn't usually happen. But
he was fast asleep anyhow, trust me. And when they put him in the car, I mean, that's a big ask.
It is, and you know, you go to bed, you think your teammates are going to do the job, and if there is a problem like Paul had, and you are overcome by fumes, you know, you've got to put the other guy in, and obviously they've gone and woken Johnny up. He's dreaming about probably being in a beach in Barbados somewhere, and within 5 minutes he's charging down to Indianapolis at 205 miles an hour. So I'm not surprised he went off.
No, exactly right. That's exactly what Emanuele said, and you know, the guys have worked so hard. Pirro is impressed with how hard those guys have worked. They've overcome all sorts of adversities, and when I was talking to him, there was some conjecture as to whether or not they were going to be able to continue past 9 a.m. and I asked Pirro about that, and he had no idea of that rule. He said, I've never actually been in a team that's had to come across that potential that you're going to be pulled out of the race before, and he said the crew didn't know about it either. They're just going about their business. They're trying to repair the car and get it back off.
Well, I hope that's the case. I hope they can carry on. Certainly there is 100% the rule that at the end of the race, to be classified, you must have done 70% of the race distance. So that has always been in play, and most teams I've ever worked with have sort of kept an eye on that. When we've had a lot of problems, they've sort of said, look, we're not going to make it past that distance, or when the cutoff point hits, that's it, really. You have to sort of throw in the towel. So I do hope they don't work in vain for that matter, but you know, you never know. I hope they can get it back on. I'd love to see them running.
Well, you know, we can see the Drayson garage right in front of our commentary box across the way there, and there really isn't a flurry of activity down there. It's been quite quiet in there. So whether they've got one or two guys just trying to fix fix that problem, or you know, they've actually decided to throw in the towel and haven't shut the shutter, because there really hasn't been much going on for the last hour or so anyway.
No, that's exactly right, and I think just sort of rough calculation, Liz.
No, it does look like Justine Monnier is actually down there, but we don't appear to be getting that interview, unfortunately. But she does appear to be down there interviewing them, so hopefully we will hear something very soon. It looks like she's speaking with Emanuele.
The leaders have just completed over 300 laps, so 70% of that would be 210 laps, and the number 11 cars competed at the moment only 174. So on that basis, it's a fair bit outside that cut-off period. And car number 69, the J-Lot Lamborghini, also I think is going to suffer a similar fate, which is a shame because they've worked hard as well and have generally done a very good job to keep that car on the road. There's still, there's only 4 GT1 cars still classified at the moment. I think that the Lamborghini has been in the pits, however, for quite a long time.
Yeah, I think the Lamborghini may struggle with a similar fate at the end of this race. I don't even know if they're still working on the car. We can't see them from here, but they were running at the back of the entire race up to that point. Great to see them actually running for as long as they were, especially after last year being such a disaster for that team. They were lucky to come back this year, weren't they, Jeremy?
Yeah, they certainly were, and there's a lot of question marks, I think, raised as to why and how they managed to get an entry again after a pretty pathetic, quite frankly, performance 1 year ago. But this year, it's a new car, it's a Reiter Engineering new Lamborghini Murcielago, and they have done a very respectable job. I mean, the car hasn't been the fastest car out there, but it's been relatively reliable, and it's been running some respectable lap times as well.
Now, something I'm just noticing here is the times of Luc Duval. He's been putting in, he's just done a fastest sector time for that car for the race. That's the number 4 Peugeot. That is the Matmut car, I believe, which is definitely putting the fight and the push onto Alan McNish. They're only a lap down, or maybe even less. So certainly I think he's been getting the call as well to push, because you never know what's going to happen in this race, and it may just unfold into their hands.
Yeah, you're right. The gap, I believe, is less than a lap. Alan McNish comes past to complete his 301st lap. Loic Duval, according to timing and scoring, is on his 3rd sector after completing 300. So yeah, less than a lap, and we'll see what this up. We'll have a look at that gap when they come past next time. In the meantime, it's Romain Dumas, 304 laps completed now by the race leader. The Kohler's Audi there in for a pit stop. Christian Albers running in 7th place.
As we see on board now with Marcel Fassler driving the number 8 Audi R15, and now we're cutting away to I think is that Bakkerud? Oh no, it's out. They're saying it's Albert, but I'm thinking that looks like Bakkerud's helmet in there. So Bakkerud may have got into the car and just taken that car out. Probably just been woken up as well from his sleep. So he'll be going out in that car for his morning stint. We're back with Fassler now, just overtaking the Luc Alcon Corvette into the Ford chicane, hunting down Romain Dumas in the number 9 Audi. That lap, he was actually 2 seconds adrift of Romain Dumas, so you know, that gap is eking out a little bit, but as we say, this is traffic, and I'm sure Fassler will get a couple of clear laps now and be able to close that gap again.
There is the work going on in the garage. We're going to be switching channels in about a minute's time, so if we suddenly go off the air, we're going to have a commercial break in around about 1 minute's time. If we go off the air, please switch across to the other Eurosport channel. To be honest, we're not quite sure which one we're on here.
Eurosport International. You'll be switching from Eurosport 2 to Eurosport International in around about a minute, so don't think that we've left you. Please do switch over.
We are continuing our coverage all the way through to the end of the 24 hours. Of course, there is the number 4 car is in the pit lane for a scheduled pit stop, and they clear the windscreen and everything else that goes along with it.
We're going to go to a break in just a minute here, but it continues to rage on. It's Audi in front still, Audi, then it's Peugeot, Audi, and Peugeot again. Everyone is being told to push, aren't they, Jeremy?
Yeah, they are. I mean, you know, there's still 5.5 hours to go, so there's a lot of drama still to be played out here at Le Mans. We're glad you're with us. If you're going to switch across the other Eurosport channel, we'll be back in just a moment. welcome to Eurosport's live coverage of the 78th Grand Prix of Endurance, the 24 Hours of Le Mans here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. My name is Jeremy Shaw, alongside me are Liz Halliday and Stuart Hall, and the drama continues, and it has, and there's Jean Alesi telling us what he thinks about his second experience of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And this is the biggest story at the moment. The class-leading GT1 car, the Celine, the Labre competition car, has been running absolutely flawlessly throughout this race, maybe a couple of minor niggles in the early part of the race, but nothing since then. It's been running like clockwork, but Stuart Hall, the car has just been off the road.
Yes, Jeremy, it's been off the road at the Ford chicane. They really didn't need that. That car's got the best part of a 10-lap lead in GT1, and we still don't know how that happened, whether it had contact, whether the driver lost it on his own, or it's had a problem. But it's in the pits now. It's full of gravel. As we can see outside our commentary box, it's actually going to go into the garage. So that could suggest it's got a bit of a problem, and that's the reason it went off. But a 10-lap lead, they really didn't need this.
This is our race leader, Liz Halliday. The car number 9, Romain Dumas. He brings that car in for scheduled service.
The only good thing that could possibly happen actually to that Celine is the fact they do have a 10-lap lead. But going back to Romain Dumas, they are still leading this race. They've been leading it for quite some time, ever since the number 2 Peugeot had a turbo problem and had to finish their race early. So I think Romain started to pick up the pace a little bit. He's pushing that Audi as hard as he can. And just a minute ago, we saw Alan McNish do a fastest sector time in his car for the race. So certainly the Audi boys are pushing as hard as they can. I think we're seeing the whole front end of this grid pushing flat out this far into this 24-hour race.
If you're just joining us, let's have a quick rundown of the order. We've seen all sorts of dramas overnight. The Peugeots were far and away the quickest cars in the race overall. They were dominated the early hours. We had one car go out with a suspension failure, actually a chassis failure. The chassis pulled out of the suspension pulled out of the chassis. That was a pole-winning car of Sebastian Bourdais before he even had a chance to get behind the wheel. As we see the work continuing there after the visit to the gravel track by that number 50 Celine. We had about 2.5 hours ago, the number 2 Audi went out suddenly. Frank Montagny at the wheel in the lead of the race with an engine failure just coming onto the Mulsanne straight. So it is now Romain Dumas in car number 9 for Audi that leads this race. The gap between himself and the teammate, car number 8 Marcel Faissler at the wheel, now 1 minute 14 seconds. And Anthony Davidson, the sole remaining factory Peugeot Sport 908, is running in 3rd place. They've had a couple of delays. The car was off the road, and they are still running out very quickly. Anthony Davidson has been the fastest car on the track for the last couple of hours, trying to make out that 1-lap deficit.
Anthony Davidson has been taking some huge risks. We saw him going very wide earlier on the straight just to make a pass around about 2 or 3 other cars. And then going back to this Celine, I think it's important to say that usually when a GT1 car of this type has been off in the gravel, it would have to go into the garage. It's not like putting one off in an LMP car where you can sometimes get away with it, give it a bit of a brush down and outside and carry on. You do need to sort of scoop out the gravel because they do suck it into them in a major way. And having driven the Lister and the Aston, having put them both in the gravel myself at times, I do know it takes a bit of an effort on occasion. So hopefully they'll be able to get it cleaned out and get it back on the road as fast as they can.
Yeah, and as you said a few minutes ago, they still have a handy lead over the next place car, which is the Aston Martin, the car number 52, the young driver AMR Aston Martin DBR9. It's Peter Cox, who's not exactly young, but he is driving that car. They were in the lead of the class early in the race. They then had a problem, dropped back. There is the Aston Martin DBR9 with Peter Cox at the wheel, the Dutchman, vastly experienced, and these guys make very few mistakes. He's sharing that car with Thomas Enger and with the youngster Christopher Nygaard from Denmark. They've done a beautiful race. I'm not sure what the problem was early in the race, but they lost a lot of time.
It was a drive shaft earlier on. I saw Thomas probably at about 10 o'clock last night, and he was tucking into some pasta and told me that they had a drive shaft problem, but they were still confident of getting a good result. And as we see now, that car second in class, and the Celine's in the garage with the Henry the Hoover around it. So you know, it could get close.
Very much so. The gap was 10 laps, as Liz Halliday said. It's now down to 8 laps. The Aston is running like clock. It looks almost brand new. I mean, considering the fact it's basically white with the red stripes across the car, it looks remarkably clean for 9 to 18 hours plus of competition.
Well, certainly Thomas Enge and Peter Cox, very, very experienced drivers, and especially experienced GT1 drivers as well. This was the pole leading car, the last GT1 pole ever that will be set at Le Mans, because this class, of course, will be finished at the end of this year, which is sad. I think a lot of people are sad about it. The ACO says the decision has been made based on current GT1 cars not really having the reliability for this type of racing anymore. They're trying to focus more on the GT2 class and to expand that into the 2 new sections that it will have. But it would be wonderful to see them finish up there, sort of the last hurrah of GT1.
It would indeed, and but right behind the we saw the Aston Martin passing the Corvette, their car number 72. I think the only remaining car, yes, because the 73 car went out. I believe that also was an engine failure. Only about a half an hour after the 63 Corvette. Both Corvettes in GT2, in the GT2 category, were leading comfortably. They were looking absolutely in control. Then the engine blew on the number 64 car, and about an hour and a half later, maybe less than that, Antonio Garcia, his was an engine failure. The 64 car of Oliver Gavin then had an incident. It was Emmanuel Collard at the wheel of that car. They had an incident with Anthony Davidson in the Peugeot, Davidson was trying to make up lost time. There was an incident down in the Porsche curves, heavy rear end damage to the car number 64, but that car is back out in the fray, albeit now only 7 laps down, which is absolutely amazing. They only lost 7 laps with a huge amount of repairs they had to do to that car. But the Aston Martin in GT1, there is a Corvette. That does not look good.
That does not look good. They did take a significant impact to the rear of that car when he got hit by Anthony Davidson, and this is looking like big problems for them.
Yeah, that almost certainly looks like an engine failure. And I saw while they were repairing the car after Collard got hit out on a racetrack, they brought it back to the pits. It was mainly rear end damage, but they were also they were rummaging around behind the garage area trying to get a radiator as well to fit into that car. So I think maybe it's some overheating, perhaps when Collard brought the car back to the pit lane, and maybe that we are now seeing the legacy of that.
Such a shame, because I'm not sure if I've ever seen these guys not finish a Le Mans with at least one car. I think they pretty much always have. Such a stalwart of American racing, and I really believed that one of them was going to win this race. I really did. And I have to say, I think if there hadn't been that collision, I still think they would be leading this class. And it's just such a shame to see a race get ended with, contact on the circuit.
Yeah, isn't that right? Of course, the Corvette team won the GT1 class last year with ease, almost at the end of the race. The second car had a gearbox transmission failure last year, but the other car came through with the class victory. But that is, I think, almost certainly going to signal the end for this magnificent team, the Pratt & Miller team. They're based up in Michigan. They do a sterling job. The cars are absolutely beautifully prepared. The team runs like clockwork. Doug Feehan manages that whole organisation with an iron fist, and there's a great camaraderie in there as well. They all know exactly what the other guys are doing. Carlton Kirby is back with us, and Carlton, what a shame to see that second of the Corvettes now pushed behind the wall.
Yeah, it is a real shame, and I feel like it's their undoing has not been of their own making, as it were. It's a real shame, a real shame. They've had such an amazing history, Corvette, for so many years. I think they're celebrating 50 years in racing. They've at Le Mans, indeed. It's been a tremendous gift, I think, that they give to us constantly, and they have been supporters, stalwarts indeed, of not only GT2 but of course GT1 as well. And you feel that maybe it wouldn't have lasted as long as it has, GT1, without their support. Certainly they've given us some great action and some beautiful looking vehicles.
That's right, and switching of course from GT1 to GT2 this year for the factory team. That was the 64 car there, going out apparently with an engine failure. Here, however, is the LMP2, the baby prototype class, being led by Stracker Racing virtually throughout. Danny Watts brings that car into the pit lane for routine service, and Liz Halliday, those guys have really done a fabulous job. It's two professional drivers, Danny Watts and Johnny Kane, and Nick Leventis, the team owner, who has done a very respectable job as well.
He has. He's had a big task on his hands because they've been leading that race almost the whole way around. He's really had to work hard to get there, and it looks like
that's Indianapolis.
Someone had a really big off here at Indianapolis that we can't see.
It looks like there's been. We're just looking at the tyre tracks there.
Yeah.
We don't know whether that's been dragged, but it looks like it's headed into a zone which they thought was perhaps a bit neutral. Whether that was of their own design or not, I do not know. But here it is.
Oh, it's the AF Corsa car, and it has had impact.
It has had impact. Front
Does it
end,
look like big impact?
Second in class. Well, we're going to find out right now. Here we go. Wow. Straight on. Big lockup. Absolutely.
The rear wheels are driving.
They are.
The brakes are locked on, and the rear wheels are still driving, Liz.
I don't know. That's not a nice place to be. You could tell the driver was doing everything he could to stop that car, and what a horrible feeling that is to be piling in on such a fast corner where you've got to be able to brake and down change a lot.
And
that was Fisichella.
So fortunate that he had at least a bit of space and a bit more extra braking to enjoy there.
Thank goodness it happened where it did.
If indeed he was actually enjoying it. Second in class. You know, I'm just starting to wonder as to the fortunes of some of these vehicles. Fisichella, we saw a lazy looking, absolutely exhausted a wee while ago. It is, as you know, a 24-hour race. We've got over 5 hours remaining. Just to go back to the top class as he limps his way around, just been down to Audi, and what they're talking about is their range, and that is a huge ask for Peugeot to actually get back at an Audi which has actually been quadruple staying out just a lap or so longer, Jeremy. They've got the range that they need, and to actually eat that up, you've got to have some ill fortune to befall Audi if Peugeot, I suspect, are going to get back into this one.
And you're talking about the Peugeot, they're getting better fuel consumption doing one more lap, is that right?
No, Audi say they think they've got a better range at the moment.
Well, the last couple of times into the pit lane, the race leader is coming in with a